Continuing, Tractate Bava, page 49b, part 2. We were up to the words Amri, La, Shvach, Vlados. In response, the sages said, no, the first assumption is untenable. Maybe we'll start from above, just in case. We might have. Let's start from the words Amri, Mishpach, Vlados, Lishma, Demei Vlados. The sages said, in questioning his answer, why is there a difference between the two cases? From the halacha that after the husband's death, the woman acquires his share of the increase in her value due to her offspring. Let it be derived that according to the opinion of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, she acquires the rights to the compensation for miscarried offspring if she was wounded after his death. Moreover, from the opinion of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, let us derive that this is also the opinion of the rabbis, since there is no dispute between them with regard to the payment of compensation for miscarried offspring. In response, the sages said, no, the first assumption is untenable, since with regard to the increase in her value due to the offspring, in which she has a share from the outset, she acquires all of it after the husband's death. By contrast, with regard to the compensation for miscarried offspring, in which she does not have a share from the outset, she does not acquire the rights to it at all, since she has no greater claim to this than any other individual does. Rav Yeva, the elder, raises a dilemma to Rav Nachman with regard to one who takes possession of the documents of a convert. What is the halacha after the death of the convert? On the one hand, it can be argued that one who takes possession of the document takes possession with the intention of acquiring the land that the document states is under lien. And since he did not take possession of the land itself, he also does not acquire the document. This is because he had no intention to acquire the document. But just the property specified in the document. Therefore, since the convert has died, perhaps the lien is cancelled and can no longer be collected, or perhaps his intention is also to acquire the document, and the paper on which it is written belongs to him. Rav Nachman said to him, answer this, my master. Does he need to acquire the document to use as paper to cover the opening of his flask? Why would he want the document if it does not grant him ownership of the land described therein? Rav Yeva the elder said to him, indeed, his intention is even to cover the flask and to cover it with paper, albeit a mundane purpose. Rabbah says, in a case where the collateral of a Jew was in the possession of a convert who lent him money, and the convert died, and another Jew came and took possession of it, then, since the convert has no heirs, the court appropriates it from his possession and returns it to its owner. What is the reason? Since the convert died, his lien on the property is abrogated. Therefore, the deposit automatically returns to its owner, and no one else has the right to take it. By contrast, if the collateral of a convert is in the possession of a Jew who lent him money, and the convert died, and another Jew came and took possession of it, this one, that is, the one owed money, acquires a share of the collateral corresponding to the money owed to him by the convert. That one, that is, the one who took possession of it, acquires the rest. The Gemara asks, But why doesn't the creditor acquire the entire collateral? If it is in his possession, let his courtyard effect acquisition for him, as doesn't Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina say a person's courtyard effects acquisition for him even without his knowledge? The sages say in response, here we are dealing with the case where the creditor is not standing next to the courtyard, anywhere that he is present next to the collateral, so that if he wants to acquire it, he could pick it up and acquire it himself. His courtyard also affects acquisition for him. But anywhere that he is not present next to the collateral, so that if he wants to acquire it, he could not acquire it, his courtyard, it also does not affect acquisition for him. The Gemara concludes, and the halacha is that where the creditor is not present in his courtyard, he does not acquire the rest of the collateral. New Mishnah. One who digs part of a pit on private property and opens its entrance in the public domain, or digs a pit in the public domain and opens its entrance on private property, or digs a pit on private property and opens its entrance on another person's private property, is liable for damage caused by the pit in each case. Tanu Rabbanan. The Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan, the sages taught in Braita. One who digs a pit on private property and opens its entrance in the public domain, or who digs a pit in the public domain and opens its entrance on private property, is liable. And this is the case of pit that is stated in the Torah. This is the statement of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva says, with regard to one who renounced ownership of his property, but did not renounce ownership of his pit located in the property, this is the case of pit that is stated in the Torah. In explanation of this dispute, Rabbah says, with regard to a pit that a person digs or opens into the public domain, everyone agrees that he is liable for damage that occurs as a result. What is the reason? The verse states, and if a man shall open a pit, and it also states, if a man shall dig a pit. Exodus 21:33, which raises the objection, if one is liable for opening a pit by removing the cover of a pit that has already been dug, then is it not all the more so obvious that he should be liable for digging a new pit? What then does the latter phrase add? Rather, the interpretation of the verse must be that the responsibility for the pit comes to him by engaging in opening the pit and by engaging in digging the pit. Although he does not own the area itself, he is liable for creating a public hazard. They disagree only